YouTube, and then you can share it with your father or rewatch it. I don't know if a couple of my other guys are going to join in or not. They said they were, but they haven't joined in yet, so it's no big deal. What you want is pretty straightforward, I think. So try and go through this. I got your PDFs, and I think I can show you documents that we already have that are pretty similar. This report, we don't have, an exact match, but we're pretty close. And this pick ticket's really close. So let me log out. This is a sandbox that I use and I tried to make a quick logo for you, but usually when I try to do something quick, it
no worries.
For some reason, Paint has got this image that's bigger, and Benson just joined. So it's really easy to change the logos. Let me. Gotta log in first. When you go to System and then Custom Logos, there's a generic logo here, and I made this JPEG file, and but as you can see, for some reason it's got this big box around it, and in 5 minutes I couldn't figure out why it was making such a big box. So, but if you wanted to, I don't know, do you have a logo out there? I'm not sure you do.
No, we just go by the company name at this point.
Right.
We've talked about getting a logo. It's just not a priority, I guess.
Yes. Well, it's not worth it a lot of times. Hey, look at that. Search for someone and you get this. So anyways, and you can have as many different logos as, if you wanted to have a Marriott logo and a Hilton logo for some reason, you can have those logos associated with those warehouses and customers. But I don't know if we need to get that sophisticated or not. If you go under warehouses, this is where you can create new warehouses. So if we wanted to do like Marriott, come on, man, caps up. Long Wharf, that's in Boston. It's a ship to, it's a ship from, it's probably not a build to. Okay. And then you can fill in all these other fields. They're pretty much optional. Oh, hold on. Okay. So now if we go back to our list of warehouses, you'll see Marriott Long Wharf is in the list. Now, the way groups and permissions or users works, it's a lot like, I don't know, Windows security. You have users, and then you have groups. So you assign users to groups, and then you have group permissions. So it's the group permissions that really define what people can do and not do in the system. So if I go under group permissions, this is the admin group we're looking at here, and admins can do everything. And if we go under customer, you'll see that, basically they can't do hardly anything. All right. And
you can give them, is there a list under customers, the ability to place orders?
Yep.
and do reports and things like that?
Right. And that's when we set the system up, what we do is we work with you to check off some of these different boxes. So shipping orders would be here. And right now, They have the ability to see the invoice total screen, the quick order screen, completed shipping orders, canceled shipping orders, create, modify a shipping order. Uh, okay. So, if you wanted them to see a bill of lading, we check this box off. I don't know. We would just have to work out the details, but the question you asked is absolutely correct. Uh, you know, we can set it up exactly as you want, so that they only see the screens that you want and the functions that you want.
And how do you attach them to the specific inventories and projects?
If you come into the system users again, I have to apologize. About a week ago, I slept on my shoulder wrong, or I was at the gym and did something to my shoulder, and they've got me on Valium, and it's making me a little loopy.
Oh.
So that's my partner Ben Walker laughing in the background.
Is there a name requirement for the company?
So what you do is you come into the user. I could make one. Let's just pick this one. And you can select which warehouse they're associated with. Okay, by default, see this field here. If I wanted to stick
fan,
it,
I see.
say that again.
A Vikings fan?
No, we're Patriots fans. We're from
the show. Vikings. That's Ragnar Lothbrok.
This is going over my head again.
The name of your employee is the name of the character in the show Vikings.
Oh, really?
The main character. Yeah.
Benson's more of a movie and media guy than I am. Do you know that, Ben?
No, I didn't know that. No, there aren't many Bensons out there.
Yeah, there aren't. So, anyways, this is the primary warehouse field that you're selecting for the user. And then if you want to give them access to a couple of other ones, you just come down here and hold the control key down, and you can give them access to multiple warehouses, okay? But not the full list, okay?
So what if we have a warehouse that has multiple inventories in it and one isn't relevant to this user?
There's a couple ways you can do that. You could create virtual warehouses inside that one physical warehouse. So if you had, I'm thinking about our Hoboken facility kind of setup, where if you had 2 or 3 New York hotels you were doing at the same time, serving them out of that one warehouse, you could come in here and just create warehouses for each facility, okay, and put them at the same physical address. So, am I making any sense here? You can have a physical warehouse be one big thing, or you can have multiple virtual warehouses at the same address. Okay, is that?
Yeah, I mean the address is less important. The physical address of the warehouse is less important for this particular function. It's being able to log in and saying, all right, I want to, like you said, I have 3 New York hotels. One's a Marriott, one's a Hilton. They have different clients who are going to be utilizing it. So I only want the one client X to see the Marriott, versus the other one to see the Hilton.
Let's make a couple more warehouses here. New York City Marriott. I don't know, Sheridan. Okay. Now if we go back to our list, I screwed up the Hilton, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. So now we've got the Marriott and the Sheraton. What you can do is go to the users. This is the guy I was picking up. So we could associate him with the Long Wharf, and then we could associate him with just the New York City Marriott. Okay. I'm going to change his password. Ragnar. So if we log out and we log in as Ragnar, hopefully I spelled that right. See how he's got only these two warehouses that he can see?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we also have, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong here, we have the ability to assign ownership, right, in the warehouses?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know really. There's an owner ID field, but I don't really see how it pulls into, I don't think any of the reports really key off it, to be honest with you, Ben. I've never
So
seen
we're
it used.
better off just keeping it in separate warehouses?
Yeah. Or, if the customers are suppliers, then you can filter their stock that way too.
Right. So, let's see. I don't want to be too. Ask me another question, Jason, so I don't. What do you want to see next?
Well, I mean, are you able to show me how they would see the inventory for that warehouse?
Oh,
Is there any inventory in there?
I just picked the Long Wharf. No. So I'm going to unselect this and go back to the item master list. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, it's because of the user ID. All right, so I'm logging back in as an administrator. So here is the generic full item list that I have in this database. Each item has about, 80 different attributes. I don't think you care about 70 of them, probably. You probably only care about a couple of different attributes.
Right.
You can page through the attributes, but again, I don't think you really care about any of these. You can store pictures of the items.
Yeah, that's a great feature, except I'm never going to get my warehouses to do it.
Right. So these are where your items are, and then if you click on this item ID, this is where you associate the item with the warehouse. Okay. So you can associate certain items with just certain warehouses. So that is another way to filter.
Right, but let me ask you this. You told me we would do like a batch upload of items.
Yep.
Once I do that, I'm assuming that those are all associated with that particular warehouse / hotel.
Right.
Would I have to go in and individually associate them like you just showed me, or?
Well, here's the way it works. The inventory template, I'm going to download a template. And we can, if you send me some data, we'll load it up for you. Hold on, it's opened up on a different screen. How come I'm not seeing? Ugh. There we go. So the first column is the warehouse. actually, let me get rid of these top 3 lines. So the field headers, this is the warehouse, then the item ID and the description. So if you were to have a new hotel, and you would just put the new hotel name here, and then the item IDs that you're going to have at that location or that warehouse, and the descriptions, and that's basically all you got to do to import it.
You also have the option of allowing all your items to appear in all warehouses. So I mean, if you have if the products are similar between the different locations, you can just opt for that option, and then when each warehouse, whether they had inventory or not, would have availability for that item ID.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's an interesting feature, but probably too confusing. So I mean, these are, every job we do is a project that's maybe 4 to 6 months, right? And it's each hotel buys a specific inventory for their project. So while there may be multiple Marriotts and we may have similar projects throughout, I only want to load what they're purchasing for that so we can search for it when we receive it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I did, Jason. I'm basically creating a Marriott Chicago project.
Okay.
So I renamed these parts Marriott Chicago, and I should be able to turn around and import this if I haven't screwed anything up. And now if I go to the warehouses, I should see a Marriott Chicago, okay, right here. And then if I go to the inventory item master list and I just pick Marriott Chicago, I'm only going to see those items that were in that Excel spreadsheet. See how easy that was?
I just want to reiterate. So, we have, it's really a two-tiered scenario, right? We're going to have Hoboken warehouse, and then that's the warehouse, and then the project will be, New York Marriott.
Right.
So
what I would do in that case though is I'd make a virtual warehouse for every project. So just make synonymous project and warehouse, okay? And you can have multiple warehouses in Hoboken. So if I came to New York City Marriott and edit it, oops, sorry, this one. I could say, whatever the address is in Hoboken. I don't know. All right. And I could do that same address for the Sheraton. Okay. So it's like having multiple virtual warehouses in one physical warehouse, which is really what you want, I believe.
Yeah, it's I'm just trying to figure out my logic with yours and see if it coincides. So when you look at this, you're only seeing the project name, not the warehouse name.
Well, we associate the customer or the employee. We associate the user with a warehouse, okay, or a project, and or multiple projects. So if you had, in your Hoboken warehouse, you were doing 4 hotels at the same time, your key warehouse guy, we would go into his user record and we'd give him access to all 4 warehouses. And then when he is working, he would pick whichever one he's working on. He'd only see 3.
The client would only get access to the ones that they were associated with.
Right. And in general, that would probably only be one. You know, unless for some reason you had 2 or 3 Marriotts going on in New York at the same time and you had the same buyer. You know, we could give him access to all 3 at the same time.
Right. It's more likely that the warehouse has multiple projects and the client has multiple projects in the same warehouse.
Right.
And it's
Right.
not even high. You know, there's not a lot of scenarios where the warehouse has multiple projects at the same time either. Because again,
Right.
everything's based on city and.
Right. I mean, it sounds like a lot of times, you know, you're opening and closing the warehouse with the project.
Correct. I do have one scenario now where I have 2 projects in the same warehouse, but that's not the norm.
Right. But it's
The norm
easily
is more likely I have clients who have multiple projects throughout the country, as you know, they provide us with business, and so they may have 4 or 5 projects going throughout the country. So I need that client to be able to log into all their different
Right.
projects / warehouses.
Yep. So you could give, you know, if you had Marriott had a buyer in New York and you had a job in LA, Chicago, and New Orleans for him, we would just go in and give him access to New Orleans, LA, and Chicago warehouses. Okay. And then when he logs in, he you know, he could see whichever one he wanted by picking from this list.
Okay.
You know, if you wanted to work on New Orleans, he would just pick New Orleans, and then boom, he'd see everything in New Orleans.
Great. And then you could give them permission to make the orders from that particular warehouse, the project.
Yep. And I think the order screen that we want to use is this quick order screen. Okay. So we'd give him access to this, and then he's just got to say, you know, I want 2 of these, or 3 of those, and 4 of these, 5 of those. Click save, review order. And that didn't seem right, but it doesn't review order actually, and then place the order. And then it creates the shipping order, and you can see that there's the 2 line items that he ordered. Okay.
I'm just curious, why didn't review order show you what the order was?
Yeah, me too. Ben,
Well, it normally does. So
here, let me jump.
try another one, Ben.
Or I was just going to jump to our other demo. Maybe it's my environment that's goofed up. Hold on. This is our other demo environment. Orders, quick orders. So ship from manufacturing. 3, save. This doesn't even have a review order. Place order.
Just out of curiosity, that screen you're on shows
There's different
items
formats. Yeah, there's different formats to the screen. So we can change, you know, we can show what's available, or we can not show. We can make this screen look like you want it to look for the customer.
I mean, the original one seemed like the perfect procession. I mean, you want to make the order, then you want to review the order and bring up just those items that you place so you can review it, as opposed to this one where it showed still the whole list, it looked like, but the ones you selected were at the top.
Right. Here, let me do another one, like Benson said.
Something must have changed in the build.
3 of these and 2 of those. Save. So
You have the review order button.
I know.
Click it again. Let's do it. Yeah, that's a good feature right there.
Yeah, to get it to work.
All I can say is something probably changed in the background.
Right. So, and then you click place, and there, here's your order. So this is what the warehouse guys would see, and we could set it up to email them a notification that, you know, the customer just placed an order for these, you know, 3 of these and 2 of those. Ship it over.
So I think I asked you this last week too. When you send that notification, can you actually send the order?
Yep. Yeah, we can send anything you want. Everything in here is a PDF basically. So here's what the order looks like. If I go back, here's the packing slip. Okay. And like I said, we can change these reports to meet your need. You know, you might want a different field or just a different layout.
Yeah, I remember I said one of the most important things to add there is weight. So we calculate.
Oh, right. Right. Here's our pick list, but there's no weight here. So we would add weight. Make this a little bigger.
So I appreciate the 3 different forms, and
we can get rid of them. You don't need them. You know,
yeah,
we can
all
just take.
We really need is the packing list, basically. One of those, like I showed you, pick ticket, pack, whatever you want to call it, pick ticket, packing list, whatever it is that lets them know what they have to order, and they end up using that as their delivery ticket.
Yep.
Because we're not actually packing anything, right? We're just loading up the truck. There's no individual packing for a box. It's not, you know, a pick and pack. It's just a pick and ship, basically.
So we would add the weight here on this grid. You'll notice that a lot of our screens have these tables, and we call them grids. And we would add the weight column in here. Okay. Let's just go back to the item master list quick and look at the item. Where's the weight? I think it's in here. Nope.
Unit gross weight, unit net weight.
Okay, here we go. Okay. So we have the weight fields. And if you know the generic weight of each item, you can put them in here. And then we also talked about direct receiving. We can add the weight column in here so that they can override what the weight is.
I think it's on. It's one of the views. I think it's on there. Yeah.
So where do I change the view?
Screen format. I think weight's part of it. There it is. Yep. Any one of those.
Okay. So yeah, here's the weight.
So show me how you would receive a couple items, and how do we?
Here's one way. You just pick the item, you know, from the thing. You say how many you got. Man.
So let's say you have, you know, 100-something items. Is there a way to start typing the item to find it quicker than scrolling through 100 items?
Yeah, sure. Well, you could scan it, and then you can also, over here, you can type in the part number. So these are all pretty similar, but 182. Oh, they all start with 1.
Gotcha. So the answer is yes. You can start typing in.
Yeah. It'll index into the table. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can just type over the units. You can type over all. You know, you can do this, where you can also, you know, type it in.
Right.
It sounds like locations. Your warehouses are going to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, if they want to put their own location in, that's fine. But again, since there's so many different, warehouses I'm using, I don't.
Right.
You know, they can use the tools if they want to, but more importantly here, we need a place to enter the vendor, because I think I told you how for some reason, the warehouses like to finding
Oh,
things
okay.
by vendor, and we go back and a lot of the research that we do to research items is based on vendor.
Okay. Well, we can change one of these columns out again to be the supplier/vendor.
I think you just pick it in the drop up there where it's suppliers. I think that carries through.
But the problem would be if you had different suppliers on different lines.
Right. That would be a problem. You're right.
But you could pick, if you had all the same supplier coming in, Jason, you could pick it. And then everything on that order would be associated with that supplier. It basically filters your item list.
Usually every receiving report is one per one vendor. It's just maybe multiple items for that
Oh, well,
vendor.
there you go. Then this would work. So now we're receiving stuff from Ace Industrial Supplies.
Where is it listed on the actual report?
Let's look. Receive. Now you're not going to do labels, so we don't need to worry about that.
Probably just from the positive adjustment report.
Or you wouldn't be able to just pull up that report while you're in that screen. You have to go back out.
Yeah, we could, again, that's a place where we would customize it for you, Jason. We'll add a button.
Well, I got the stow list there. You could always customize the stow list, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like the stow list report went away, though, after I did the receive. Here,
Yeah, because it works with what's in the grid.
Let's just do this one more time.
I'd like to see how we determine date that it was actually received versus the date it was entered. Is there a way to do that?
Say that again. The date it was received versus the date it was entered.
Correct.
If
you look on my receiving report, because there's a lot of times these guys may receive it on Monday. By the time they get it through the warehouse and to the data entry person, it's Wednesday. And we like to keep track of when the freight actually came in because, first of all, I want to know how quickly my warehouses are doing it, and secondly, that's another way to go search the item if need be, based on the vendor will say it was received on a certain date.
we could add another column here. We have expiration date now. We could almost reuse expiration date as either the receive date or usually they happen at the same time. You do the transaction and you receive it on the same day. So
not actually very usual in my processes because by the time they get this paperwork, we'd love to have it. Our requirement is that it's done within 48 hours of receipt. But it depends on again, remember, these aren't hugely sophisticated warehouses. A lot of them are moving companies. So,
right.
By the time they bring the paperwork to whoever's doing the data entry, it could be, or till they fill out the form and everything, could be a day or two. Ideally, it's the same day or the next day, but not always.
So this report that I clicked on is called stow list. We could rename it receiving report or RR report or whatever you want to call it.
Perfect. Right.
But the data.
And does it number it? We need it to number it so that we know what number report it is in sequential order.
Okay. Let me go back then, just to review the numbers. We keep track of a bunch of different. We actually have a numbers table, and we would add like a receiving report. We call them reference numbers now. It's probably the same as the reference number, right, Ben?
Yeah.
but the reference number isn't in here, I don't think. That's behind the scenes, right, Ben?
What, the adjustment number? It's right there. So the system will assign it, or if it's a PO, it'll have the purchase order adjust, as a reference number. Or if it's
so
an appointment.
we actually want to capture. So every receiving report is obviously a unique one, and it should be received as a sequential number, so we know we haven't missed anything. And I'm sure your system does it. I don't care what we call them on our report, RR number for receiving report number, and the doc will manually fill out when they receive the freight. It's RR number 1, hand it into that entry, and they should know that the system's going to say it's RR number 1. Let's say we're down to number 10. If the doc gives them number 11 and we don't have number 10, we know that the system knows that we've missed one.
Well, if it's a manual entry, you have the ability just to overwrite it in the receiving grid. You can put your own reference numbers in there.
What I'm trying to do is eliminate the human error by having the system automatically do the next one, knowing that if for some reason the guy on the dock didn't hand in number 9 and number 10, and the system's on number still has number 10 to come, and they hand them number 11. Well, where's number 10? How do we know that we missed one? Because the system's only up to number 10.
Right. Okay.
And it's, same with pick tickets.
I got a Bomanoose, Ben.
Sorry?
I got a Bomanoose. I got that meeting at noon I got to get to.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right. Yeah, see you.
Nice talking to you.
Thanks to you too.
This is Benson checking out. See ya.
Yeah, so, you can see, Jason, I changed the adjustment number from ADJ to RR for receiving reference.
Okay.
We're just going to have
Will that show up on that report?
Yeah, well, we'll change the report so that it shows up for you. What normally happens is we keep that number in the audit trail. Let me go to the reports and show you. So this is everything that basically I did today in terms of receiving. And see this reference number over here where it says ADJ? It's now going to turn into RR dash. And then we'll change the reports to show that reference number wherever you want it, on the pick tickets and shipping orders and wherever you want it.
Okay, perfect.
So this is a really nice report because it shows you who did what when. And again, now it'll have your RR numbers on it. So you'll see a direct reference to the RR numbers.
So on the receiving also, is there a place to enter the PO?
Yeah. We can add, let's see. Receive. There's a remark column here where you could put the PO number. You could use this lot serial number column. We have different grids too.
Can we rename those columns?
Yeah, that's what we do as part of the setup. That's what we do as part of the setup.
Okay, so I can put PO because I like to keep remarks that would be like for damages or short or
Right, exactly. But there's different grids here too. So based on the different layouts we have, and we can just make a whole new grid for you with the layout that you want.
Okay, that's great.
See, this one's actually got like 2 serial numbers. These lot serial number and RFID columns are just unique serial numbers. So they're like free-form text fields. So we can rename them and you can use them as text fields.
And let me ask you this: does the report? So once we receive these two items, this is the receiving report, and it's called RR number 1. You've got the weights there. Well, this one doesn't have weights; it's cost. But if you replace cost with weight, does it?
Here's the weight one. We can put another column in here that does the math, and it shows the total weight.
Okay, great.
That's the kind of stuff that, again, we like to think we have most of the system done, but we tweak it to meet your need. So I think you just need a couple of screens.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not the most complex, process that we go through. I think it's pretty simple. We receive freight in, and we order it and ship it out. There's not a lot of.
And I think this quick order screen will work well for your buyers, or your hotel people saying, ship this stuff over.
It's perfect that we just, we don't necessarily need cost in there.
Yeah, and again, there's different views. Yeah, I think we have one called Simple. Right. But Simple doesn't say how many you have, so maybe we add, a in-stock column to this. So they don't order 20 when they only have 10.
Right. We don't allow back orders.
Right. That's good. That's fine. The system handles back orders, but we're happy not to do them. There's again there's a whole bunch of options. I think under shipping orders, there's a checkbox here as to whether we allow back orders. Allow short shipments. Back orders. So do not make shipping back orders. So that disables back orders.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think with a couple of tweaks, I think this is going to check all the boxes.
Right. It should be all you need. It's pretty simple.
Just again, the for expediency, what I require my warehouse to do is once they create the receiving report, I ask them to scan it and ship it to me with the backup paperwork, so it's all basically one PDF, so I could save it as.
Okay.
The shipper. Here's my receiving report with the backup paperwork, so that the client can see what they've received and make sure that they're getting what they bought, and I could make sure that they entered what they were supposed to enter.
Right. And or deal with if, the packing list said 10 and they only received 9, then calling the supplier and saying.
Correct. And a lot of times the problem is the vendor doesn't put the proper identifying numbers on it. So they don't know how to enter it. Like this, the warehouse, the client may say we have an X100 coming in, and it's a lamp, and then when they get it from the vendor, the X100 is nowhere to be identified, and they don't know how to enter it.
Right.
So we have to show the paperwork to the client, who goes probably back to somebody at Marriott or somebody, whoever it is, and say, yes, this is the X100.
Okay.
Unfortunately, vendors don't cooperate with their, with the buyer's own, internal.
Right. They're not calling it what they want, what they're supposed to call it.
Right. They're going to call it what they've called it, and they're not calling it what Marriott calls it, for instance.
Right. Yeah, I got it.
So that's why the backup paperwork is important, and we, then go back and so show me real quick. You show me how to batch enter. Show me how I would.
Oh, yeah. If you come under utilities, import export. If you want to load up the item list for a warehouse, you use this first line, parts and inventory. If you wanted to
Mhm.
load up a direct receipt, um, it's this template. It's really simple.
What if I want to add one unit to the inventory because let's say that when they supplied me with their master list, they left it off, or they ended up buying it again later, or we need to rename it. A lot of times what happens is they'll buy a component, an item that has 4 components, but they've only given it one item ID. So it'll be a left, right, and a center, let's say, of a piece of furniture. So they only call it X100. Well, I need to call it X100 left, X100 right, X100 center, so that we know what to pick. And
Right.
so I may have to go and make those.
Well, there's a
items.
couple things you can do in the item master list. Um, I logged in this here. You can come into this item and rename it, okay, if it got named incorrectly, or you can copy it to a new item. So if you needed to make 000-001-left, you can copy it to a new, and now you've got a left item, okay. And you
Would
can
I be able to
copy it.
change the description too? Like, I don't see.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So you can come down here and say the left side console. You can change anything you want in here because now it's a whole new part.
Okay. What if I just wanted? So you went to that master item list. If I just wanted to add a new item that wasn't existing to even copy.
Yep, you can just click the add button and then you get a whole blank new record.
Gotcha.
And you.
So that means it's added to that list. That's what you're saying. So that's
Yep.
an easy way to add it.
So now if I added 000-Jason and I called it right side console and save it, and if we go back to our list, see, here's Jason. 001 dash. I tried to keep it so it would be at the top of the list. Okay, so it's really easy to add new. And then again, if you need to keep track of which warehouse they're in, right now we have the option where it goes to all warehouses. You can uncheck the ones it doesn't apply to, or we can turn off the system feature that assigns it to all warehouses, and then it'll just create it in the warehouse that you're currently in.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Okay. So let me get out of here. System, admin options. Not can't remember where exactly all these are. Yeah, here it is. Restrict parts from being turned on for all warehouses. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we turn that off, and it'll just create it, and then you'll have to assign it to the warehouse you want it to go to.
Okay, great. Show me, if you can, some history.
So if we go to orders and shipping orders, I don't know that these demo systems have much for good. So this would be all the shipping orders that we've shipped, and then you can reprint. You were mostly interested in packing slips. You know, you can reprint packing slips.
What about if I wanted to see what just all the open orders?
Yep. Status, current.
Okay.
And then completed. You know, you can just pick the different statuses, and it's going to change change the list.
All right, what if I wanted to see an item history, when it came in and when it went out?
Oh, yeah, sure. If you go back to the item master list, there's a history thing. This little magnifying glass shows you, I believe, the last 2 weeks. Okay. But the other thing you can do is, if we just take this item ID and go to the report, inventory, and then the audit trail. Active parts issue. You can come in and this is sample data, so it's not very good. But that would show you all of the history for that part for that warehouse.
So I would do, it would show me all the ins and all the outs, or all the receives and all the ships.
Yeah, and all the, if they moved it, I don't think they're going to use that functionality, but if they located and moved it from like dock to staging or something like that, it would show that too. But I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah, it'll show you.
Am I able to just select all receivings?
Yeah, I think so. Well, the one thing you can do here is you can click on the column type, and it'll sort by that column type, ascending and descending. And the other thing you can do is on all of the grids where there are reports, you can export them, and it sticks them out to Excel, and then you can do whatever you want in Excel. That'll be the easy way to send.
So on the outbound, I could see all the orders that went outbound, and I can see all the orders that came in on, right? So those are our numbers and ticket numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think what other reports I use a lot. So if we're able to add in vendor as part of our receiving, we'll be able to sort by vendor.
We can certainly add it. I don't see why not. Well, let's see. I'm in reports now. Trying to see if we had anything that was basically by supplier. Receiving, issuing, receiving. Yeah, well, let me show you something else here. It's not exactly crystal reports, but there's a report generator in here. So Benson and the other tech guys here can come in and tweak the report for you very simply, right online. So if you're an administrator and you know what you're doing, you can come in and generate the report on the fly. Again, there's a copy button down here. So if you want to keep the existing report and let's say call it by supplier, then they can come down here and change the SQL selects and the filters and sorts by suppliers. They could say, this isn't right, but by supplier equal, whatever the variable is, and put out a supplier column for you and change the heading. So
okay, that's great.
Yeah, all those things are pretty easy to change right on the fly.
And to edit, I know you mentioned editing was, so I need to edit an order before it was technically shipped.
Yeah, sure. You just come into the order. If it's a shipping order, you can just come into the order and go to the line items, and you can change them. And then click save. And that's all you got to do to edit it. Add another line.
And that will be available to happen without until the warehouse clicks a ship button that sends this order out.
Right. Once it's issued, then it's locked until you bring it back. So when you start issuing, and then finish the issue, the status of this changes from current to shipped, and now you'd have to bring it back. See how the grid changed? You can't change anything here.
Right. That makes sense. But so to go back a couple of steps, at what point does the pick ticket get sent to the warehouse? At start issuing?
Yeah, you could do it. We don't really, yeah, there's a pick list here. We don't really stop you from generating the documents at any point in the process. So you could generate a pick ticket even after it's shipped. Sounds a little goofy.
Right, but I'm saying, like, at what point does the person placing the order places the order? So it's placed. So how does it which generates the notification to the warehouse with the order attached?
Right, that's going to come from that quick order screen.
Right.
You know, I want 2 of these, 3 of these. Save. For some reason, we have the review button here, and then place. And that generates the order, which is now a current, it's in the current list. And unless we gave the customer the ability to come in here and change it, it would be the warehouse. In general, it's the warehouse guy's responsibility to change it once that order is placed. But we could give, it's up to you. And I guess maybe you have some customers that are smarter than other customers, or more frequent users, or bigger or heavier users. You could give them access to this screen where they could come in and edit their own orders.
Yeah, I actually find that the customers are smarter than the warehouse people.
Yeah, that sounds, the warehouse people are, probably $12 an hour fork truck drivers in general. You don't pay them to think, you pay them to do.
Right. Right. Unfortunately, that's true. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of times where they're like, you know what, because they're ordering based on the hotel being ready for certain things, and sometimes they have to change that, or space available on the dock at the hotel, so they might want to go in and edit the order.
The other thing you could do is, if they're doing a whole floor, they could come in and load up a template again of what they want shipped. By giving you a spreadsheet in this format. And,
probably not necessary. They don't order a whole floor at one time. They're maybe doing, they go by floor, so they may be doing, X amount of rooms per day on that floor. So they'll order, and they want to order specific items first. They want the mattresses to come off, last, so they don't take up so much room on the dock and stuff. So.
Okay. There's a lot of different possibilities here. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah. It seems pretty versatile.
Honestly, it's overkill for what you need.
Yeah, but it's intuitive, which I like. The interfaces are all very crisp and clean.
It's kind of in that Excel grid layout, that format that people should be able to handle.
I mean, for me, the most important things are, ease of data entry, because that's what takes the time, right? So,
Right.
just how quickly can they do a receiving report, and how quickly can a guy order?
The other
And
thing,
then,
the other thing, just to show you, and I don't know if I really, um, we have this mobile system which runs on tablets and smartphones. So it's limited functionality, um, but it's designed more for smaller screens. Let me make this screen. You can run it on a desktop, but you can also run it, like I said, on a smartphone. So you can search, receive, issue, move. It'll show you your orders. Okay. So, if you've got a guy running around on a fork truck, he can pop this open on his smartphone, and he doesn't have to run back to the office.
okay,
It's more paperless. But if you want him writing down, confirming numbers on like a piece, on a clipboard, that's fine too. I'm just throwing this
yeah,
out there as a, or if say you're in Topeka, and the buyer from New Orleans calls up and says, what do I have? He does, for some reason, he can't get access to the system. You can log in and just say, we have 10 of these and 12 of those, and you know, you could use this on the road on your phone. If you have
I
a
mean, that'd be good
tablet,
to be able to.
you can run the full-blown system. Uh, but if you're doing it from your smartphone, it's hard to run the full-blown system. It's just the screens are too big. So this is an attempt to give a subset of the system on smaller screens.
Right. I mean, if we can, and it sounds like you can pretty easily do it, just get the fields that we need on the receiving screen, and the pick ticket / delivery ticket, which is one ticket for us. Everything else seems, adding inventory seems pretty good, easy, and I like it. Searching things, you have good reports. If we can just make sure if we can search by vendor, that would be great, which looks like you can do. And make sure that receiving report rides with the pick ticket. And here's one other question. This came up to me this week or last week in the warehouse, one of my warehouses. I think I talked to you about it. So let's say we receive item number one, multiple times in a month or whatever. So it's on multiple receiving reports.
Uh-huh.
And do you consolidate? I assume you consolidate the item on the order screen. So if it came in 3 different times, 10 times 3, they'll just see 30 available.
Right.
But
if you go here, let me jump back to just go to when you see over here, it shows you, it does consolidate them. Okay. So, like if I click on 55, this could have been a grid or a list of different things that added up to 55, but it just
so that would show you the different If I clicked on that 55, it would show me the different receiving reports it came in on.
If you wanted it to, yeah.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
Everything here is these demo systems are not full of wonderful data. But yeah, we could make it so that it showed you. Most of the time, people just want to see the consolidated number. They don't want to see But we do keep track of every receipt, so that well, first of all, we do that so that we can also do first in, first out.
Right. Right. So that would be a great tool for me if I was able to click on that in stock number and see which reports receivings it came in on. But secondarily, this is what the issue that came up last week was when the pick ticket came out. I think I mentioned this to you. It only, even though it came in on multiple receivings, it only listed one on the pick ticket, and the warehouse went to search for it based on the receiving because they put it, they don't consolidate them in the warehouse because of when they came in and the size of these things. It's not like they can just go put it on a shelf.
And put them away by truck or whatever. Right.
Yeah. So they weren't able to find the stock because they didn't know where the other stuff was. They ordered 20, but they only printed out the receiving report. They had 10.
Right.
That's why I asked, is it able to show you multiple receiving RR numbers?
This one, there's an order for 3 of these black 60 gig iPods. And unfortunately, they're all in the same spot. But yeah, we could show you, the different RR numbers here, or suppliers, or however you wanted to do it. Basically, this receiving reference is the RR number you're talking about. We were gonna change the ADJ to be RR dash. Right.
So it would show the multiples. Does it calculate based on the number ordered versus the number? Like in a lot of these pick, pack, and ship warehouses, it'll sort it by, all right, so it'll take the first 10 available at location A, and then it'll give you the next 4 from location B, because it ordered 14. Does it do that? So say RR1, which had 10.
Well, we can do it. We can do it a couple of different ways. We can show them all of the available, or we can do it kind of like first in, first out, and direct them to pick. We can do it either way. So
yeah, at some point we're gonna get more sophisticated than they are.
Right.
Because I don't know if they're keeping track that they took 5 of the 10 that were at the first location. So if it does, I guess that would be helpful if they're picking it by RR number and they originally received 10 from the RR1, and one pick ticket took 5 of them. The second pick ticket would say, all right, there's 5 left at RR1, and then there's another 5 at RR2.
Right.
And we assume that'd be very helpful.
Right. I would think that's how you'd want it. That's basically a first in, first out. But sometimes, depending on how buried, it can depend on the warehouse and the warehouse guy. I don't know how much.
Right.
He may not want to dig. Yeah, he may not want to dig it out, so you may jump to the next line and say, "I'm going to go get it over here." That's up to you.
Or maybe it's just listing all of them that it came in on, and not delineating how many are available at each, because, like you said, they want to they wanted to go get number 3, which was the one that's most accessible. I don't want, that could be LIFO instead of FIFO. I don't know how they're doing it.
But it might be a lot more practical,
Right. I think if we just keep it simple and just list all the RRs that it came in on,
right.
Let them decide where they want to get it from.
Right. Because eventually they're all going to end up at the hotel.
Correct.
Or you're going to send them back to the supplier.
They're all going to the same place. It doesn't matter. It's not like these are being shipped to different customers all over the country or anything like that. It's all going to one place.
And it's not like they have expiration dates either, As long as it stays in good quality, you don't really care which one they get.
Exactly.
You're more. I would think you'd be more interested in keeping the warehouse happy and making him efficient and letting him do his own decision making on where he picks it from.
Exactly. I've only, in the few years I've been doing this system, just recently had somebody complain that, to me it was also, again, an error on their process, but they only shipped 8 when it called for 10 because it only listed the one RR number, and so they only found 8. Well, that makes no sense to me. I understand you're only able to, it's only set the one RR, but your system says you have 10. Go find the other 2.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is kind of the pick ticket should have shown him options for getting the full quantity rather than leaving him on his own. If you ask me.
The system I'm currently using, it gives me an either-or scenario. Either I don't consolidate on the order screen, so it's annoying for the order maker because they think they're out of. They find the item and then they think they're out of it because they don't realize that there's 2 more line items somewhere with the rest of the inventory. But that way, it'll give you multiple. If they order from 2 line items, it'll give both RR numbers.
Gotcha.
I can't have it both ways, so it's very frustrating.
Right. Okay.
So this will solve that problem.
Right.
All right. So I think this is really going to work for us. Again, let's talk quickly about the pricing. You mentioned that customers aren't counted as users.
Right. Just the warehouse.
How do you define a customer? So if I have, let's just call it CCI Hospitality, which is one of my customers, or we call them clients, customers, same thing. And they give me the jobs, so they're one of the ones who will have access to multiple. They're not counted. So the person who's placing the order is not counted. Only the warehouse is counted as a user.
Right. Let me flip back. So it comes down to under these system users, see this group column?
Mm-hmm.
Warehouse guys are going to be either called employees or warehouse, and anybody who's in the customer group is, those are the ones we consider unlimited. So they're going to be different groups, and we basically do it by group.
Okay.
So we give you the customers are unlimited.
And
you probably only need one warehouse guy per warehouse, I would think.
For the most part, yes. Because what I end up doing, a lot of times what they end up doing is either sharing the same user login, or there's only one person assigned to it. But at the client level, customer level, there's multiple people because they have, different people who are either going to go in an order or, who want to see their inventory.
Buyers. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, as long as they're our customer, those are unlimited.
And then the warehouse people, come and go as the project ends.
But you
just,
no longer... if you're just using a generic one per warehouse, and they're sharing it, that's fine. Or if you give them, if you want to keep, if you have a warehouse that's becoming problematic, somebody's screwing up, you could give them individual logins so that the audit trail is more granular and you can tell who's doing what.
Right.
But we're only counting concurrent users. So, as long as only one of them's in at a time, that's all we really care about. You could have...
to make sure I have access to everybody who needs it, if I had 5 projects going, I would say I'd want 5, or would I gamble and say I want 3, and assuming that not all 5 will be on at the same time?
Yeah, I would tend to try the 3 until, maybe you need 4, but doubtfully you'll ever need 5. You know what I mean?
Right, and I don't count, right? Myself and my father, we're part of the customer side.
I don't know about that. You'd probably be an administrator creating the warehouses and creating the users and,
But do I count against my user?
Yeah, you would count. You would count. But you wouldn't be in that often.
I'm actually in a ton.
Well,
because all I do all day long is solve problems, right? Which I'm hoping.
Well, but maybe you can do most of your work from a customer record. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the truth is, I actually do log in almost every time as the customer or the warehouse, because I want to see only their stuff, because that's just the way this current system I use makes it easier to get to the information based on logging in as a customer or a warehouse.
Could get really
your
annoying.
system may be easier to go in as myself, but I typically now go in as somebody else so that I can just see what they see.
How many projects do you have going at a time, Jason, generally? Average?
On average, it's hard to say, but right now I have, I think, 5 or 6. Some are coming towards the end, and some are just about to start up.
Right.
You know, I just ended one in Tucson, but they're probably still. It just ended, but there are probably still people logging in to sort a few things out and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm starting a few new, which I'd like to really maybe get this online for, so that I don't have to, you know, because those projects will go 6 months. I don't want to start.
Right.
You know, I'm on the other system. I want to start on here. Even if we have started a little bit, I can transfer it over. It's not a ton of receivings yet. So I'd like to make that switch sooner than later if I could. I think I have 3 projects starting.
Here's what I would suggest. Start with 1 or 2, you know, and get them running smoothly and get you and your dad up to speed, and then start rolling it out to the other ones. You know, maybe you know, phase this in a little bit. I don't know. That would be my
Yeah, I could
advice.
do that. I could do that very easy, and that's what I'm saying. I have a few that are coming to the end. I'll leave them in place. But I literally just started two or three that I just gave, you know, demos on how to use my current system. So they've only either received a few items or not many. I would love to get them, because I don't want to go through 6 months with that, and I want to switch to a system that's better. I don't want to go through that whole project, and I don't care if I have to do a little extra work re-entering their receivings. It's not a ton of freight that's been received yet. I'd like to get those in here.
Okay.
So how quickly?
Well, we can have a system up for you in like a day.
Okay.
You know,
how do we get those few items that we need to make it apples to apples as far as what we need to see, like, you know, the vendor and there's not a lot of stuff. Weight vendor.
Yeah, I would just send us. Well, we have that template for the item master, but if you just send us some Excel spreadsheets, we'll just import it for you to get started and get you going.
Okay. All right. So how long would it take to get those 2 reports? Those are basically the only 2 things, either the pick ticket or the receiving report.
I would say,
so look,
you know, 3 or 4 days, a week, a work week.
Okay.
You know, by the time, probably Benson will do it, and, you know, you'll just have to look at what we have, and then you'll scribble it up, and then he'll change it. So by the time you do that, it's a couple days.
All right. Do you need a work order from me or anything?
Not really.
And is there a contract that goes with it for a certain amount of time, or is it come and go as?
No, we don't really hold you to it. You know, we have them if you want to do them, but, you know, we want you to be a good customer and want you to be a happy customer. So, you know, contracts are usually only good for a year, and then they go month to month anyways. So,
so as far as pricing goes, is it locked in for a certain amount of time, or do you not change pricing on? I don't know how
yeah,
long.
usually we don't change pricing on customers. You know, it's just that per user rate, you know, which you can go, you know, I already said you can go up and down on. You know, there's no reason to, you know, if you need 5 this month but only 4 next month, that's fine. Just tell us and we'll adjust accordingly. You know.
All right, and you mentioned there might be a volume discount. Is there a certain number you get to where
Yeah, I would say if you, well, let me, I'll try to come up with a little grid for you where we can do, I don't know, like 8, 12, and 16 or something like that. If you get the 8, we'll start charging you this per user instead of that. We'll
Okay.
discount it, something like that, 8, 12, and 6. I don't know if you're going to get bigger than that or not. Maybe it goes 8, 12, 16, and then at 20 it's unlimited. It'll be something like that.
Okay. That sounds good.
All right.
All right. I really like it. I think, I mean, a lot of
What
times you get.
Yeah, what I might suggest, even before you agree, is like there's one of these jobs that's starting up. If you have some of the items for it, send it
Yeah, I can
to us,
send you
and
those.
send us the items, and we'll set you up, and you can get started with it, and actually working with it, and then you
All right,
can start. We'll give
I'll
you
do
like
that
a
with
2 or 3 week, or maybe all of February, to just get kind of established and get one of them working.
I mean, I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world, but I'll know pretty quick.
Right.
You
Whether
know,
it's going to
if
work or
I'm
not. Right.
right. Because it's I'll be going through the same processes, and it's either it's doing that or it's not. I mean, I don't have a ton of different processes to go through, and I can see. I think I can see. Now that I've been using a system for a while, and all the things that are good and bad about it. I think we've covered them all here, and you've got some really good features that are gonna help me, which is really why I needed. I was on the search here.
I don't know. There is barcoding in here too. I don't know if you'll ever get to it, but it's in here. There's.
No, we'll never get to that. Again, most of these warehouses are moving companies. They're not actual pick, pack, and ship warehouses.
Right.
Although they may do some of them may do that because of the way they may label all their furniture that comes in crates and stuff. I don't think that we have. It's just that I don't think we have the need for it.
Right.
But
okay.
And I used it in my warehouse, when I owned it, and it was great because you can just scan stuff out, or
Right.
scan stuff in as you're receiving it. But then again, these things aren't coming in with barcodes that don't match our inventories.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you don't know what they have for hardware and all that other stuff. So,
yeah. Right. I'm going to send you Riverside Marriott, which is just starting up. We've only received 2 shipments, so.
Yeah, we'll load that up for you, and then you can work with Benson on changing the receiving report and doing the audit trail kind of stuff, so you can. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I don't think it's a big deal, so that's why I say let's just get started.
Yeah, I agree. I only wrote down like 5 or 6 things here to remind me about.
Columns or adding a column. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. All right, perfect. I'll send it over to you in a little bit.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Yep, bye.